Go ahead, Terry.
How was the energy in practice today? Was it kind of what you expected and hoped for in a playoff
Yeah,
game?
for sure. Yeah, they come in really attentive. Just we watched some video together, and then obviously tried to execute some stuff on the floor. So they were great.
How do you respond, when there's a game where obviously you got the win, but gave up, more points than you had all year?
Yeah.
Is that just kind of a flush it? And you get back to
Absolutely
the
not.
situation?
It is absolutely not a flush situation. No, honestly, when I looked at it, when I look back on it, I think as coaches and messengers of the game plan, something didn't land right, and so we looked at it, and the repeated scheme was one that we looked at, and we said, okay, obviously we did not. So from a coaching perspective, I feel like that the miscues were as a result of our, I would say inability. It wasn't an ability thing, but we didn't express ourselves in a way that they understood.
So you're saying you didn't communicate what you wanted them to do?
We communicated it, but we didn't communicate it well. And that happens sometimes. What we saw is multiple players, sort of doing the same things. The couple of the actions, it was us not executing how we play certain actions. But there were many possessions of players that, generally speaking, do what they're supposed to do, and like I said, it didn't land. So that's on the coaches. That's where I'm going with that. That is on the coaches, and so we had a really good conversation about getting that cleaned up.
I mean, on the one hand, if you can go out and give up most points and have the first team shoot 50% and still win the game, you're going, that's pretty cool. But you've never been an outscore them kind of team this year, right?
However, we got the win. We're okay with the win, but we also know that we take a lot of pride in our defense, and that was not one of the top defenses in the league that we saw in the last game that we played, and we've got to be that for the next game.
When you look at how they were able to do that, was it a get into the lane and collapse things and throw it out type of situation, or were they spreading you out and getting what they wanted?
I mean, they did their normal things. They didn't do anything any different. We just had too many situations where we were letting them get to those spots, and to play with the aggression that they played with, and so. But everything that they did, they've been doing. I mean, everybody adds a wrinkle or two, but this is how they play.
Cheryl, that big shot that Bridget hit at the end of the game, I mean, all season long, it just seems like there hasn't been a fear of many players on this team that want the ball in that situation and take that shot. And how beneficial is that now in the playoffs to have that kind of pedigree?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, this is a team that's really confident. They all believe in each other. They all have belief in themselves to step up when it was necessary. When we were, that was a bad possession for us too. Again, coming from the bench, and then a little bit of miscommunication. And so when we got to the end of the play that we wanted to run, but I wanted to run it when it was earlier in the clock, not later in the clock, because it wasn't long enough. And so, I think they all started yelling at her. And she said she heard the fans,
the fans were
counted down. She was like, well, I better go. So, but yeah, no, it speaks to her confidence and the team's confidence in her.
You don't see too many turnaround threes.
It wasn't really a turnaround. It was a move left.
Okay.
Yeah. She caught the ball in the wing and she dribbled left and pulled it.
You guys had an enormous edge in free throw attempts in that game.
Yeah.
Something that Nate was quick to point out and constant to point out during his post game. I mean, in playoff games like this, do you generally see a reaction to that sort of disparity in game two?
Yeah, I don't really want to get into those conversations. I mean, I think whenever you're not successful, that usually is the team, that sees a number like that. But it's one of those things.
Where do you think you're? I mean, was that just an example of the more aggressive team?
We were in the paint.
Shots?
We were in the paint.
Yeah.
Since the break, you've been the best team in the league doing that, what you've been preaching all year. That's just win the next game.
Yeah.
I know that messaging isn't going to change in the playoffs, but just like for the talking with the team today and getting back in practice, is that message still being received to a satisfactory degree by the team?
For sure. They understand. This is game 2, and we were in a series last year where we were desperate as the road team to try to get the game back to our place. And so now we're on the other side of it. And so we understand the level of desperation. We had gotten beat by 30 out in Connecticut. And, you came back into game 2, we were a completely different team. You better bring it. Game 2. All right, better bring it.
How important is this home court playing here?
Oh, it's huge. We have such a great fan base. Our business staff does a great job, and kind of dressing the house, getting it like it looks, and fans do a great job getting it to sound like it sounds. I think it's really fun for our players.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Yep.